and welcome to Talking Horses. You don't need to adjust your screens. Andy's off today. I'm Maggie Wolfendale alongside Sarah El-Badwi. And Sarah, we saw some interesting racing from across the country yesterday, to say the least. Tote problems in South Florida with Amtote, kind of put a little bit of a fog over this year's Tampa Bay Derby.
And it's a frustrating situation, and you have every right to be frustrated as a bettor, as a fan waiting for these delays, as someone involved in the industry in any capacity. It's a frustrating situation, and there really isn't that one party to blame for it, but it's not Tampa's fault that this happened. And I just feel for them on their biggest day, for their biggest race, that it was a non-wagering event, but at the same time, at least it was a formful race so that if you liked a price, you saved yourself.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure you were included in that. Did you like a price? Or
I didn't really like anybody at all, so
yeah.
it was fun to watch.
Right, I agree. It actually turned out to be a great race, or finish, I should say. The fractions, I mean, they just crawled early. It seemed like a lot of snatch and grab going on at Tampa Bay Downs yesterday on either surface, but domestic product, he would reign supreme despite having to close off of that slow pace. I thought a good race in the correction. Those two mares throwing down, Hot Fudge being victorious. Man, she knows how to win. 8 for 13 life.
And I really love how with Can't Hurry Love, they got her started ahead of Hot Fudge. They really wanted to give her every opportunity to beat her. And I like the cutback for her from the 7 furlong distance as well, but Hot Fudge just sticks her neck out,
you
just
can
wants
really
to win.
see her doing it too.
Yeah, that was a great race.
Yeah, it was fun to watch them. But we do have an 8 race card for you on Tapped, and of course, if you want to play along with us, make sure you do so with your NYRA Bets account. We do have that $200 deposit match bonus for new customers when you use promo code bonus200. Check out nyrabets.com for all the details. Also running a promotion of that $15 bonus when you bet $150 on Aqueduct, Oaklawn, and Santa Anita, and you get 15 back, win or lose. Make sure you opt in over at nyrabets.com. And as you heard from Chris Griffin, play the cross country pick 5, which will be hopping back and forth, starting at Oaklawn with their 6th. We have the 7th and 8th from here at Oaklawn and at Aqueduct, and wrapping things up here with that, I should say, at Oaklawn with their 8th race. And you can catch all of that here on America's Day at the Races. Coverage starts on FS2 at 3 o'clock. It will be myself, Greg, Richie, and Polly out there in Hot Springs, as we'll, just in case you missed it, for the 3rd time in the last 5 minutes, play the cross country pick 5. Really going to push that on you today, but we'll start things off here at the Big A with race number 1. It is a maiden special weight. Sarah, and I thought an interesting race, but there's no doubt about it. I think the horse that ran the best race last time is number 2, Best Impression. She's installed 7-5 on the morning line for Phil Serpy. We'll go back and watch it. It was a muddy sealed surface. We are listed as muddy. I'm not exactly sure if we're sealed or open. Sometimes we don't get that till we're about to run the race. She breaks about 2 lengths slow here, and then she's just going to continue this forward progress throughout the running of this race.
This was a really impressive effort to me because she had to do everything sort of not her own way, right? She broke slowly. She had to run up in between horses, and then here we're seeing her really fight back value area towards the inside, and it's always hard to tell on TV, but she seems like a big horse. So being in that inside position, even more disadvantageous. And while value area, she took her sweet time to break her maiden, she'd been very consistent in her races before that and came right back with a career best, running 3rd in the Ruthless. So she was running into a decent horse that had plenty of racing experience, and nothing went right for her, and she still fought all the way to the wire.
The worst thing I can say about her is you're not going to get the 13-1 that you did first time out. She will likely be a prohibitive favorite, but Sarah and I seeing this race virtually the same. We do have 3 that exit the February 11th effort, and I don't think there's any argument that Luminique ran the best race of those 3. She's going to get a little bit of a makeover with the Lasix and the blinkers on, but talk about her and what she did in that effort.
this was just another situation where you have a horse that breaks slowly and really tries to make up some ground late and still do some running in that debut effort. She got going late to finish third in there. She finished ahead of 2 horses that she's going to face again in here in Stamp of Approval and the Taco Lady. And I feel as though the routing distance will help her a little bit. Her Dam's 1 win was at a route distance. Her 2 siblings that have won did so going longer. And as you mentioned, she's getting those makeover packages, right, with the blinkers and the Lasix as well. So she's a horse. A lot of different things are happening for her today, and there was just enough of an excuse first time out.
The only reason I have them flip-flopped, the 4 and the 1, and I don't think Stamp of Approval did much running, though she ran very evenly, which usually translates to a horse that wants more distance. It's just Chad Brown's numbers with these types of moves. Maidens in their second start, sprint to route on dirt. He's 31 for 93, 33%, 185 ROI. So that's the only reason why I just went to Stamp of Approval for second, but certainly best impression. The one to beat in today's opener if she runs anywhere near that first race. The second is a state bred optional allowance for the straight 3-year-olds going the 6.5 furlongs, one to beat. And here is the most drama-ridden horse, I think,
poor guy.
of the past 6 months in number 3, Brick Ambush. I couldn't bring myself to show the replay of the New York Stallion Series Stakes, so I opted to show his last effort, which he was a well-beaten second. But I wanted to also highlight the fact that he's going to come around the turn on the wrong lead. And for me, he's on the inside lead. He doesn't switch. And for me, this just spoke of a horse that looked tired going the mile. I think less ground, although that's not what he looks like physically, I think less ground is going to be better for him.
Well, he did all the dirty work in this race. There was a horse to his inside that was forward. There was a horse to his outside that was forward. He was the one in between horses contesting the pace and sort of the last man standing of those horses that had that forward position in there, and just got scooped up by a horse that I think is pretty good in Doc Sullivan, who also sat a really nice trip as well. So I think maybe you say, okay, the rail might have been a place to be on the 19th. He did spend some time there towards the end of that race, unlike a horse exiting that race, Lots of Trouble, who was wide in there. But going back to his races before that, those two still make him so much so the horse to beat in this spot, even if you take away how well he ran last time. So I felt as though this was a situation where I just couldn't get creative enough to come up with somebody else.
And of course, complimented Doc Sullivan running second in the Gander in his next start behind Panda Gate, who looks like he might be on his way to the Wood Memorial. Now, Allied Attack, we both have third in here. He is, at least on paper, the lone speed in this race, which could make him dangerous. He does have that upward trajectory of races getting faster with each subsequent start. It's just, he just doesn't look as good as Brick Ambush here, and Brick Ambush certainly has enough pace to keep him close.
And with Allied Attack, he did not spend the whole race on the rail, but he spent at least half of it able to save some ground on a day where you did want to be more towards the inside. And while he does have the speed in this race, and he is drawn inside of another horse that might be able to try to apply some pressure and Always a Warrior, I just wonder if he's really going to get away with setting his own fractions here, if they might be a little bit more aggressive with Always a Warrior to his outside, a horse that had shown some speed in the past.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what shakes out for him. I went to Mad Banker for second. I thought he's improved off the Wayne Potts claim and gets Lasix for the first time and has been running against tougher company.
Yeah, he's been facing some good horses. I mean, horses that we've seen go on to Tri Stakes Company. So I feel as though if you like him, this would be the time to get a good price on him, especially as an alternative to your shorter price favorites. I couldn't quite get there with him, but his last 2 races have been better.
And you like Lots of Trouble because of being against the track last time?
Pretty much. I mean, he needs to get a little bit faster overall, but I think he's just a horse that hasn't had as many chances to disappoint or really show that he can't take that step forward with a more advantageous trip in here.
I just think he's a turf horse. Race number 3, claiming 16 open, going the 7 furlongs. Major scratch of number 1 in here, Colonel Vargo. That will leave number 4, Ski Patrol, a prohibitive favorite in here. And Sarah, he's just the horse that seems to be in good form. I like the fact that Kendrick Carmouche was able to get him more forward position than what we had seen from him last time out. And Kendrick rode him like the best horse in the race, and he ultimately proved that and was complimented with Cheeky Tico coming back and winning.
Yeah, winning twice, in fact, actually winning his next 2 starts. And Ski Patrol really got bet this day, but he seemed like a horse that was going to be able to sit the right kind of trip, be a little bit more tactical than we had seen in his last couple of races with that cutback in distance for him. And I think that that's going to really help him today, because with Colonel Vargo coming out of this race, I don't think he's good enough, but Winning Drive does seem like the horse that's probably going to be forward in here. And I don't think Ski Patrol is going to let him get too far away. He's just so much so the horse to beat now with his main rival coming out of here.
You're going to get creative, though, and go with the Randy Prasad off the claim honorary degree, also coming in off of win, though.
I tried. I mean, he has to work out a trip now with maybe a little bit less pace in this race, and he may have been helped by the outside flow of the racetrack in his last start, but we've seen horses as of late take a big step forwards in this barn. Over the past 5 years, Prasad first off the claim, 6 for 47, but it's a $3.36 ROI, so they pay well. But if you look at over the past 5 months alone, all 4 horses that he's claimed have come back to hit the board with 1 winner, and they've run faster races. And I feel as though they're horses that are showing new dimensions too. Joey the Fish being able to show the speed that she did. If that can happen, anything can happen for this barn, to be honest. So I feel as though if he takes that step forward for this barn that a lot of the horses as of late have been doing, he could potentially be a player in here, but Ski Patrol is the horse to beat, no doubt about it.
This race number 3, kicking off the pick 6, race number 4. We'll kick off the late pick 5, and this is 8 main special weight for the New York breds, going the 6 furlongs in here. And look, I ultimately went to the horse who is likely to be the favorite in Irish Tenor, because he just looks like he is the speed. Now, he was run down last time after doing some dirty work up on the front end by 2 well-meant first-time starters out of barns that win frequently with their debuters, including Todd Pletcher and Silver Satin, who was actually favored that day for Jorge Abreu. So, yeah, blinkers going on here. I love me a hard spun. Just gonna put that out there. Look, I like the fact that he's speed from the outside.
And that's all fair. He's run well in both of his starts so far, and maybe, when he was running second to Allied Attack, when we looked at that race earlier, he was a little bit more against the racetrack than he was, being a little bit further wide than that rival, so maybe had to overcome something. And then, as you mentioned, both of those horses that defeated him last time, they both took some serious money in that race, and they both could be pretty good going forward, so I don't want to hold that against him. And while it's not a great stat for Kimmel putting blinkers on first time for maidens, he already has ability. He's already shown that he can run pretty well so far.
Right. It's not like they're trying to, just throw
create
them
something
on.
out of nothing.
Exactly.
We've already seen that he has some ability, has some talent. So I don't hold that stat against him in any way coming into this spot. And he also draws well, just as you mentioned. And depending on what we get from these first-time starters, he could end up being the speed of this race and take them gate to wire.
But the horse that you have on top does have some speed. At least we saw that from him last time at Elfgar, who chased heavyweight champs, the favorite that day, around the racetrack. Took every shot at him. At the end of the day, it was just too much heavyweight champs. Now, the problem is he's been over 30-1 in both of his starts, and now we'll see how much the Dutro entry of first-time starters takes, but you're going to get a fraction of that.
Right, and you never want to see that, but I feel as though with him, you really saw a lot more professionalism in this race than you did on debut. He broke slowly first time out, he was far back early, he never really saved any ground on the February 3rd day where the rail was good, and last time, showing that speed that he did, trying to battle with a horse that had that experience like heavyweight champs and it has some ability as well. I think that his buyers also reflect that step forward. He went from a 41 to a 68 buyer. He has a little bit of pedigree. He's a half to that 6-time winner, no Hain, no gain, and perhaps he can sit the kind of stalking trip that he might need to right off of Irish Tenor in here.
All right. We do have to mention the duo of debuters from the Dutro barn, Rick Dutro barn, Sandy Sweet Tooth and Boss 302. I think both of us, just have the one up there, but recognize that either one could win. I actually, in a weird way, do prefer the one, because I just like Blames, but there really wasn't much to, separate these two. Looks like they've been working together steadily along, have nice foundations into both of them, and It's a little bit more of a dirt pedigree, I would say, on the 1A, possibly. As the animal appeal, she was a horse who ran around here for Jeremiah Englehart, and she was a good turf sprinter. I couldn't separate either of these two.
There wasn't really a ton to
you're
make
taking
them
a package
stand
deal
out,
for,
right? Exactly.
exactly.
And I feel as though they both sold for a decent amount too. They both could have some ability, but they've been working together. So I don't really know that we got a true test to separate them. You'll be able to see them before the race.
Yeah.
Are we showing? Well, it'll be right before we come on, so you
Yeah.
won't. But this is hard to be able to say one of them is so much more likely to win than the other in this situation.
Well, that is the first four. We'll be back after a brief message from our sponsors here on Talking Horses.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Thanks to our friends at Saratoga Spring Water for bringing you our program, Talking Horses. It's Maggie and Sarah, and we'll get into a race which features probably the shortest price on the card. Installed at 1-2 on the morning line is Temperamental in here as she drops into this state bred 25, going the 6.5 furlongs, and there's just no way to be creative here, Sarah.
I tried to be a little bit insane, but she is so likely to win this race. I mean, she's just been facing better horses. She's run respectably well in each of those races against other horses. She's going to get the jump on the horse that I ultimately picked on top in here in terms of where she'll be positioned early on in this race. And maybe you can say that she was a little bit helped by the racetrack in a couple of her recent performances, namely this one, as well as her race last time out when she finished second to Timely Conquest. The rail was where you wanted to be, and that's where she was. But she's run well enough in races outside of that where she wasn't helped by the racetrack. To suggest that she was just enhanced by that would be missing a lot of what she's done as of late, and she's just been really consistent. It's a little bit of a red flag that she is dropping off the voided claim now, but maybe they're just being realistic about wanting to win a race with her and moving on before she starts to go the other way in terms of her form.
And two, I mean, we're coming towards the end of Aqueduct, in which, you know, things are only going to get tougher from here on out in the A other than the 2X for the state bred. So I can see where it could be a negative, but I'm not going to put too much stock into that. You opted to go to Eros' Girl. My problem with her in that
I have a lot of problems with her. But.
I mean, legitimate excuse. I mean, she went to her nose last time out at the start, like the turn back, but the last time she was in this spot, she was horrible.
Well, two back on February 3rd, the rail was a good, significant advantage. That's where Temperamental spent a little bit more of her time.
Right.
But not that much. So to say that it was just that, maybe not. She didn't save as much ground of her in the early portion of that race, but she did angle over in the stretch, and it's possible that Temperamental is just better and just is going to get the jump on her, and she's just going to be a little bit behind the eight ball anyway in terms of where she likes to run early on. But the stumble last time, I mean, as you said, that was significant. She really lost every opportunity to do anything in that race. And that was also a day where speed did really well, and she was in last early. So I feel as though if you're going to take some sort of shot, this is the shot to take, but it's probably going to miss. I just couldn't put a 1-2 on top.
Against your religion type of thing.
Sure.
Race 6 coming up, another state bred affair. This one for the boys, and they're traveling the 6 furlongs. We'll start by talking about the horse that has the recency and also has kind of the back form to go on, and that's number 4, Be the Boss too. Now he's kind of second off that bit of a freshening here for Mike Maker, who I will say he went on that run for like January and half of February, and now it feels like they're not running as well. Could they just be horses that are, you know, running to their limit and trying to take on tougher conditions? Possibly. But, you know, you look at the form of the horses that he faced. What's Up Bro, we'll see in the next race. he was able to basically wire the field that day. And Be the Boss kind of got shuffled back a bit into the turn. He switched out in the quarter pole and then he kind of re-rallied, which I appreciated from him, showing a bit of determination. It certainly wasn't a walk in the park type of trip. And now it just feels like he's going to be a fitter horse.
I think so, and I think we're dealing with a situation too where this likely could be an easier field because you have some questions to answer with Perfect Munnings as well as excellent timing, and I don't necessarily view the rest of his competitors as good enough. So if you want to take him, I get it, because based on his overall body of work, he should win this race. A little bit of the problem I have with him is that he's just kind of going in the wrong direction over his last 3 starts, and maybe he just needed one off the little bit of a break last time. Maybe you can give that enough of an excuse, and he was running into a horse.
You mean in his last 2 starts?
In his last race where he came back in February, since he hadn't run in December, maybe he just needed one to sort of get back going.
And then the time before, maybe he is a horse that needs Lasix because... And
Right.
2, he was wired by
Those were good
Today's
horses.
Favor.
Those were good horses.
And then before that, he runs a 90.
This is true. The 90 sort of seemed to pop up out of
Yeah,
a little
but he
bit
just-
of nowhere.
To me, he only has to run like an 85 here, which
To
I
win this race?
feel like is
It's
in
possible.
his wheelhouse. And that is me banking on the fact that excellent timing is going to have to come back off of a long layoff. And he is the fastest horse in here. He's very quick. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
I don't trust him either. I mean, I don't think that we're going to see a performance like we did when he got that 94 Beyer speed figure when he won back in March, and now he has that layoff to contend with as well, and we can take a look at that race. But look at who he was facing over the last 2 races before he went to the bench. I mean, Rotney is so quick early, running into him twice, and then Woohoo That's Me is also a pretty decent horse in his own right as well. So I don't know that we're going to see this performance, but we might see something somewhat in between what he did before he went to the bench and this. And I didn't really know how much aggression other horses were going to show because I liked that he was at least outside of the other speed in here.
Yes, that's fair. I mean, I would think Disco Dino has to go in here too.
Yeah.
Or at least try. You know, to
I don't
be
know
forward.
that he can, but he should try.
No, he's not naturally as fast. And Perfect Munnings is probably going to want to secure a forward position. But Perfect Munnings,
What do you do with him?
is a reclaim by Linda Rice. I suppose it's a positive that coming back off this considerable layoff of nearly 6 months that she, keeps him in for the 45 because when he, won and ran for her before that, it was for the 25. Could it just be the way races are coming up? He's ready, possibly, but he's one that can, as his last race would suggest, can certainly throw in a clunker.
Right, I think that was a decent field he was facing, but at the same time, this is a race at Saratoga where he won by open lengths with a 95 Beyer, where he was in for a tag for the first time in his career. So you also have to think that class relief sort of helped him out in that situation, and even going into that race where he was facing some decent company, he went off as the favorite and he just stopped. Now, maybe something went wrong because then he was off for this period of time.
Yeah.
But I think that you still have to sort of question what we're going to get from both him and the horse that I picked on top in excellent timing. Be the Boss is the more consistent, I suppose, type to take in here and maybe a little bit less of a gamble as far as what he's done overall.
And the problem is with both the 2 and 6, you're taking a gamble on likely short priced horses.
Right. It's not the favorite, but it's still a short price. And these horses might play a little bit better in your multi-race wagers than perhaps in just your win bets or your bets in this race in particular. But at the same time, you're not going to get a big price to find out if they're ready to come back fresh. So this is a race with a lot of questions.
Beach Boy Al could get the right setup if there is enough pace. I mean, he certainly did last time. He was advantageous at 20-1. Not going to get that today, and certainly with the track. But he beat a formful field.
He did. That was a really good field that he was running into. And maybe you say that in his start before that, he really didn't break all that well. Not that it would have led me to predicting his win last time, but he's a horse that has some ability as well. And if all those horses really do battle for the front end, he could be the benefactor.
Yeah, had 3 next to him out winners in theirs. Race number 7, the feature on the card, and it is a good one in here. The late double, I tried to get a little bit creative, but you picked the same horse. Cool.
We can both be creative. It's okay.
I just like this horse.
I do too.
I know he only has one good race, but if the race is if the track is still wet, that could really help Authorize in here. And he just looked so uncomfortable last time out in a race that we saw at least factually correct come back and get the win with the 91 Beyer. So why did you go to Authorize?
Well, I feel as though this is one of those horses that there was some belief that he had ability early on in his career, and then he was off for such a long time, but then comes back, sort of shows that he could maybe still be that type of horse off the layoff, then throws in a bad race, then throws in this really good race that we saw where he's closing down the center of the track and running down a horse in Excellent Men. And then last time out, maybe he's just not that good. But I think there's also a possibility that the rail was really where he wanted to be that day, and he was very wide and far back in that race, as was a horse in Giants Fire, who ended up scratching out of here that I was going to be a little bit crazy with and pick second. But
I had him second too.
Did you?
No, I had him fourth. It wasn't as brave.
He was
as
in
you.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
but he was a little interesting too.
He
And
was.
I think that if you really think, okay, he was against the track last time, we might still have a wet track by the time this race runs. If he runs anything like that race 2 back, and you get the price that you're going to get, I also felt like he could get the setup too, because it seems like a lot of these types of horses, Cup, What's Up Bro, Daufusky Island, they're all horses that like to be forward.
Absolutely. That's the way I saw it as well. And kind of going back to what you're saying, it almost feels like he could be that good race, bad race type of horse.
It's possible, and I think you get the right price to find out today, and that's really what matters most in here.
The most puzzling horse is the maiden.
I was going to
four-year-old
ask, we
filly.
have to mention this horse, don't we?
I mean, I am wishing my friend Mike Schrader and Bruce Brown the best of luck, but what?
This is not an easy spot either. I mean,
I don't know. I couldn't make any sense of it.
I thought this might have been a mistake, but look, spots come up. You have to run your horses where you think that they could have a shot, and this horse at least seems to be working well. It seems as though this was a horse that was with Todd Pletcher for a period of time training, now goes out for this barn first time out. I didn't see it, but you have to at least wonder why this horse is here.
What's Up Bro, likely the favorite and horse to beat. He's in raging form right now, and he keeps taking steps back up the ladder, where now he's run through his New York bred conditions. Linda has him in raging form. We both have him third. Is it just for you that he doesn't necessarily get the right setup in here, but at least he's outside?
It's that he doesn't necessarily project to get the right setup with being a horse that can be forwardly placed, because he's going to have some other speed types to his inside. He's stepping out of the state bred company into a decent allowance spot, and while he is in really nice form right now, this is a tough field in comparison to the types of horses that he's faced over his last 3 races. I know that he has really stepped up to the occasion each and every time, but I feel as though this might be more of a test than he's faced as of yet.
All right, I have a little bit of interest in Narciso Dali. Love the turn back in distance for him. You also have got Thunder off the quick turnaround. I mean, he's, in a month, he's run 3 races.
Yeah, I mean, he ran well last time. If you had him last time, I feel for you. That was a tough beat in that spot as we take a look at Narciso Dali and Daufusky Island's race where Ocean's Reserve was able to win. I think this was a race where you sort of saw Daufusky Island sort of get back to that horse that he maybe used to be, show a little bit more of the signs of life that he used to have, and maybe he was a little bit against the racetrack last time. But I think that you also have to think Narciso Dali is a horse that's really improving over his last couple of races, and I think that he might get a better pace setup than Daufusky Island will.
Exactly. All right, race number 7. It's a good one. Race 8, we did see a defection of Arteta here for George Weaver. He's going to keep the 3 in here, Piccolo Diavolo. But there's a big favorite in this one too, and that's number 6, Mwazara, for Todd Pletcher, dropping out of maiden special weight company. Ridgewood Runner was able to wire the field, as we'll go back to his Keeneland after effort where he finished second, and what?
I don't know. I don't love him. But
I don't love him either.
But I didn't love anybody else, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And I was trying to make a little bit of a case for Arteta, who's not here. So I kind of default to this horse, who he's kind of just been faster than anybody else really has so far. And while he was no threat to the winner this day, at least he can handle a wet track if that's what we still have. He can be somewhat forward without needing the lead, perhaps. And he just seems like the type of drop down for this barn that is supposed to get the job done.
And Todd has good numbers in doing this with the drop downs on the dirt, 20 for 72. I want I'm not gonna lie, just a little bit of a nod to my dog, Mr.
love George.
Georgie. Mr. Georgie. But not only that, I kid. If you wanted to look outside the favorite in here, Mawazara, I just thought I wanted an unknown. And competitive edge with his first-time starters, his first-time starting 3-year-olds and up, he's at 22%. The Dam was a decent enough dirt sprinter. She won in her second start, 3 foals to run, 3 winners, no superstars, but enough pedigree to say in a maiden 40 that this horse could be effective. The downside, Mike Maselli not known for winning with his debuters.
No, but I mean, I think it's interesting that he reaches out to Dylan to ride this one.
And they team up with a lot of success.
Right, and there's some things to like about this horse. If you're looking for an alternative, I couldn't quite get there myself, but I respect trying to find an alternative to a horse that's going to be a very, very short price.
All right, that will do it for us here on Talking Horses. As always, if you want to play along with us, do so with a NYRA Bets account. New members use promo code BONUS200 over at nyrabets.com where you can get more details. And also you could opt in to the $15 bonus when you bet $50 each on Aqueduct, Oaklawn, and Santa Anita. I think I said 150 earlier. My eyes are playing tricks on me. But win or lose, you get $15 back. Opt in over at nyrabets.com. And the heavily promoted Cross Country Big Five comes up at 4:18 p.m. starting with Oaklawn 6. Jump back here to Aqueduct for our last 2 with the 7th race from Oaklawn sandwiched in between and the 8th over at Oaklawn Park. Make sure you go to NYRA.com/crosscountry and you can always watch with us live on America's Day at the races with coverage starting at 3 p.m. on FS2. Sarah, well done. Do you think we earned triple-digit buyer speed figure for fastest talking horses ever?
It's got to be in the top 10, I feel like.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and thanks for tuning in to Talking Horses. Chris Griffin will be up next with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes, probably in about 20 minutes. Maybe a little less than that. I'm not throwing the ball to you quite yet, Chris. But again, good luck and have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.